Today, it's just you and me. No guest, no interview. This episode is going to be part a little bit behind the scenes of my thought process and part actionable lesson on creating your dream home, starting with how to actually create a vision for your home that's deeply connected to what you want to feel and experience there. If you know me at all, you know I like to tinker with things. I tinker with my home. I change up the wall colors or move the furniture around or change up what I display on a surface or move the art around. And that's for two reasons. One, it might be because the more time I spend in a room, the more I experience what kind of feels off or maybe what's missing or just isn't working now that maybe my life has changed in some way. So I tinker. Or it's because I'm constantly inspired by what I see happening in the world around me. Maybe I've visited a new hotel or restaurant that has given me some ideas, or seen something in a design magazine, or gone to a museum, or even gone looking at wallpaper samples for no obvious reason since I'm not about to wallpaper a room. And yes, this is exactly what happened last week when I just decided to play hooky and walk down to the paper and paint store that's near my house. And I spent an hour and a half just looking through wallpaper samples and getting a parking ticket because I lost track of time. I just get energized by a new project, right? I can go years without changing anything, but even if it's just a really small thing, like I'm having people over and I want to change up how I mix the tablecloth and the napkins and the candlesticks or something stupid and small like that. I just really get a lot out of creating something that's beautiful. And I want to know if you relate to this. Are you a tinkerer too? Do you enjoy the process of changing things up, especially in small ways? I'm not really talking about doing total makeovers, although you might love these as well as I do. But if you love tinkering, then you are a great candidate for the slow style approach. And that's because the very way we develop or come to define our signature style is exactly through this process of tinkering, which happens over time and hence the name slow. So what I'm not talking about here is that slow style means you live in what feels like unfinished rooms for years as you slowly outfit them. I mean, you'll get a room looking and feeling the way you want it to, and then over time, maybe just months or years or whatever, or even days and weeks, depending on how much you like to tinker, you add and subtract things, right? Maybe you go on a vacation and then you're bringing something new home and you want to display it. Or you buy a new piece of art and that means you have to move around 5 other pieces of art to find a new home. All the while, as you're doing this, you are learning about yourself. If you're paying attention and noticing and really actively trying to pay attention and notice what you love and hate and why, what you're consistently drawn to, and what you're drawn to that's maybe surprising you because 10 years ago you thought you hated that thing. So when I say slow style, I don't have a specific pace in mind because sometimes our room will change very gradually. Sometimes you may be inspired to do a makeover in just a few weeks. But even these bigger bursts of change are typically informed by your style as it's been percolating in your mind for years. Slow style isn't so much prescriptive as it is inevitable. So if you want a home that's not a cookie cutter copy of someone else's, this is the way to get it. By taking stock of how your home is working and not working, experimenting with a new layout or a new paint color, or even just how you're using a room, and then mixing things together that you really love in new ways, and then living with that for a little while and seeing if the changes are having their desired effect until the next time the mood strikes to change things up again. So it's like going through periods of, oh, I'm really, really happy with this room. Then I start tinkering with it a little bit. And then maybe a few years later, I want to do a big change. And then I live with that for a little while. That's what I mean about slow style. The point of slow style is not the pace at which you're doing it or creating your home. It's the attitude you have toward how one develops their style, their signature style. But what if you're not as obsessed with your home as others, as I am? Can the slow style approach work for you too? What if you don't have the time or the energy or the bandwidth to be tinkering all the time? What if you're impatient or if you want to do it all at once and not think about it again, or you're just completely overwhelmed because everywhere you look, you're not really happy with what you see? Well, what that tells me is that you're probably at a different stage of loving your home than the small-time tinkerers are. You probably have more foundational issues that you want to address, but you don't know how to prioritize, your budget. If this is you, you probably aren't thinking about going slowly. You want to make more immediate changes, ones that might be bigger and have a bigger impact than just futzing around with your mantle. How would the slow style philosophy work for you? These two situations that people find themselves in are something that I think about all the time. How can I make the framework of slow style, the actual lessons, work for both people who are pretty happy with their homes but naturally love to tinker about with them because they're really interested in design, and work for people who need to make some significant changes fairly quickly? We're all at different stages in life and therefore different stages in our relationships with our homes. Some people are moving into their first apartments or first homes. Others have been renters for years and will continue to be, and they've accumulated a lot of treasures. Some of us are living with young children who take up all of our energy, and some of us are living with children that are about to leave the nest. Some of us live alone, or some of us live with pets, or are caretaking for elderly parents. So I also tinker with how I present the slow style approach. If you believe in the tenets of slow style, I want the lessons to work for you regardless of where you're at with your home. And just briefly, in case you don't know what they are, the tenets, or the 3 principles of slow style, as I usually refer to them, have to do with decorating from the inside out so that your home reflects your authentic self, an interest in using the development of your signature style as part of your personal growth, and third, a recognition that our decor choices have a larger impact on our world, especially in terms of the environment. So if you're on board with those things, let's keep going regardless of your life situation. As I've been saying, I like to tinker, not just with my home, but with this podcast and with my business as a whole. If you're in our monthly membership, the Slow Style Society, you're well aware of this. The membership has gone through several iterations in terms of how it's structured, and I'm not going to bore you with all the specifics. I'll just skip ahead and say that what I've landed on in terms of how I think about the usefulness of slow style is this. If you are fairly new to the concepts of design, or if you're in a situation where big changes are called for, you need a step-by-step blueprint that keeps you on track, keeps you from feeling overwhelmed, and keeps you on your budget and aligned with your lifestyle. Because you're likely going to be purchasing several things in a short period of time, and so you need a structure to follow. If, however, you want or need to make small changes because you're pretty happy with how things are, so you're not looking for a big makeover, or because maybe time or money or whatever is in the way, and so you can only make some small changes, I think you still need to know the blueprint or the framework for how slow style, how to use slow style, how to implement it, but you're probably not following the lessons step by step in a particular order. So there are all different points, entry points into the slow style world. And again, for me to be most useful to you, each of you, I think I need to address these different situations specifically one at a time. So today I'm going to talk about the beginning of the slow style framework for those of you who don't know where to start, and for those of you who are ready for a big change, not just tinkering. This is step 1 of the plan, which I call envision. Think about the last time you purchased something for your house, something fairly substantial. Maybe it was a new light fixture or a chair or something. We primarily shop for our homes based purely on the look of something. We see that chair or light fixture and we just immediately go, oh, that looks beautiful. I love it. And we buy it. And then we might love it for a while or we might not. And that's because we just haven't taken the time to stop and think beyond our first impression. We're not asking ourselves questions like, do we love the chair because it's what we've been seeing a lot on social media or design magazines? Is this a chair that's just trending and we're not even aware of the fact that we're being subconsciously influenced by it? More importantly, can you say why you love the chair beyond it looking cool? Is the design or the style part of a larger vision you have for a room? So if you're not thinking a little more carefully about these questions, there's a good chance you're going to be tired of this choice a lot sooner than you'd like to be. Now, let me clarify. I am not totally against impulse purchases, and I'm not immune to that thrill either. There are times when you have to make a decision right on the spot, like when you're at a large antiques fair, and if you waffle, you might lose your chance. And I certainly buy a lot of smalls simply because I immediately love something and I don't think very long before shelling over the bucks. Smalls, if you're not familiar with the term, just means the accessories we have in our homes that are typically physically smaller than, say, a piece of furniture, and smaller in price as well. But remember, today I'm talking about how to use the slow style framework when you're looking to make over an entire room and you don't know where to start. And in this situation, taking your time to create a vision and then check yourself when you're about to buy something is the best way I know of to make choices you're not going to regret. If you've already got a particular room in mind that isn't working, that's great. If you're just frustrated with your home overall, I'm going to strongly recommend you do approach it one room at a time and pick just one that you can think about as you listen to the rest of this episode. Because a well-trained or experienced designer knows how to overhaul an entire home at once, but presumably that's not you. So do yourself a favor and take the pressure off. You do not need to fix or finish everything all at once. Okay? Are you ready? You've got your room in mind. Before you buy anything, you need to have a solid vision for what you want this particular room to do for you. This might sound obvious. You may already be able to tell me, well, I know what I want the room to look like. Or you might even have a Pinterest board that's full of furniture and paint colors. But do you feel confident moving forward on the next step? Are you just going to start buying all the stuff you've got on your Pinterest board? Or do you now do a Google search on what some expert says is the best blue paint for a bedroom? That next step can still feel like a leap of faith for most people, even if you think you know what you want the room to look like. And that's because you've skipped a foundational part. You need to go quite a bit deeper on your vision than you probably have. Most people skim over the substance underneath the look that they want. In fact, most people confuse a vision for a room with a mood board full of products. A typical mood board ends up kind of like a big picture shopping list, but a vision ensures you're going to make good decisions and that those decisions will have staying power because you don't want a room full of regrets, right? This is the piece, the magic piece that a really good interior designer is doing between their introductory call with you when they ask you a bunch of questions and then when they present you with their first mood board. Okay, that's the piece we're talking about here that most people skip over because they either don't know it exists or they don't know what to do. So if I were going to work with you one-on-one, there are some specific questions and prompts we'd go through to create this vision. Some of them are easy. They're just practical, straightforward questions. So I'm not going to go through all of them in this. I want to talk about the one that hangs people up the most. So you've got your room in mind, the one you want to work on first. Now I'm going to ask you to fill in the blanks. In this room, I want to feel or experience blank because blank. The more specific and personal you are about how you want to feel, the clearer your design choices will become. And answering the because part of the question grounds you in why those feelings or experiences are so important so that your choices are substantive and intentional and immune to fleeting trends. So let me say this again. The more specific and personal you are in articulating how you want to feel in the room, the easier it's going to be to make decisive decisions about your decor. It's in the feelings and experiences that colors and materials, scale, pattern, symmetry, all of those designy things, that's where they're pulled from. This link between what professional designers do and what someone experiences emotionally and physically in a room is what we're talking about. And it's the piece typical advice for non-designers completely leaves out. Okay. Hopefully I've convinced you of the importance of this, but you still might be wondering, okay, it seems kind of obvious to fill in the blanks. I want to feel blank because blank. I want to feel comfortable because I like to relax when I get home from work or something like that. All right, we're going to go a lot deeper. And I'm going to run through quite a few potential ways you might answer this question just to show you how diverse the needs are of different people and kind of how really poignant some of these reasons are for why people want to feel the way they do. All right, buckle in because I'm going to go through them quickly. I want to feel connected to my family when they visit because no one lives close to each other and I'm worried we're going to lose those bonds. I want to create family memories through traditions because growing up, my family didn't have any. I want to create family memories through small daily or weekly rituals because the kids are getting older and we don't spend as much time together and I feel like time is running out. I want to nurture my friendships in this room with people who are authentic because my other friendships throughout my life have actually been toxic. In this room, I want to create memorable parties because that's one way we can knit our neighborhood together. I want to have great conversations in this room so that I don't feel so lonely in the world. I want to laugh a lot because my job is really stressful and I need to let that go. I want to host discussions with meaningful exchanges of ideas in my living room because I don't want to lose myself in the daily responsibilities of being a mom or a dad. I want to host game nights because this is my favorite way to spend time with my friends. I want to eat and share fabulous meals in this dining room because cooking is my favorite hobby. I want to have time to savor our food because we're all just rushing through life and we're missing out. I want to zone out in this room and relax my mind because I feel like I'm always on. Or I want to escape the daily grind because the world is really depressing me right now. I want to use this room as a private space because otherwise everyone wants or needs something from me all the time. I want to have the best sleep possible in my bedroom because my insomnia is really disrupting my life. Or I want intimacy to be easy because my partner and I are kind of on different pages. And a few more. I want to be organized to make daily tasks go much more smoothly. I want to be organized to feel like I've got at least some things under control in my life that's spinning out of control. I want to feel good about my outer self so that I feel more confident when I walk out of my bedroom. I want to feel good about my inner self so that I also feel more confident. So you see how these answers go beyond just saying, oh, I'm casual, I just want my house to feel comfortable. So I'll say it again. By filling in the blanks, I want to blank because blank, or I want to feel blank because blank. You're setting the tone and the priorities for this room. It's the bedrock of your vision. When your vision is really clear about how you want to feel and what you want to experience, you can then assess every decision by how well it stacks up in terms of supporting that vision. So your vision, it puts constraints on things, such as making sure something is not only beautiful, but functions the way you need it to. And your vision will lead you toward colors and materials that evoke the feelings you're after. And your vision will dictate how you arrange your furniture and what activities a room will be used for and by whom. So I hope you've got some thoughts running through your mind at this point. I hope some of the examples have maybe struck a chord. I hope you'll just take a few moments to sit in your room and ask yourself what you want to feel and why. And I hope you now have an inkling of how your vision will lead eventually to design and decor choices. I don't expect you to be able to completely make that leap just yet. This is that link between feelings and design that I was talking about earlier. I was saying that figuring out how to visually represent and evoke feelings was the very thing that the pros are supposed to be good at and that no one is talking about, and we'll get there. Stay tuned for the next solo episode where we start to connect those dots. In the meantime, let me know your thoughts on what I've laid out so far. I'm serious. I really do want to hear from you. Did you get anything new from it? Anything helpful? Or was this just too basic or full of stuff you've already knew and understood? Let me know so that I can gauge each episode going forward. You can email me directly at Zandra, Zandra, at slowstylehome.com. And you can always find that email address on our website, slowstylehome.com.